I wrote a script for Netflix's Never Have I Ever. I am so excited for this video, you have no idea. Hi friends, if you are new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Rochelle. As you read in the title, in this video, we will be talking about a script I wrote for Netflix's Never Have I Ever. I should mention that I am not an official writer for the show, although that would actually be a dream job. If anyone from Netflix or the Never Have I Ever production team watches this and is looking for a writer or an assistant, please reach out to me. I would really love to work for such a fun and amazing show. That would be a dream come true. Anyway, I am a film student in film school, and the reason why I wrote a script, an episode for Netflix's Never Have I Ever, is because one of my classes was writing for television, and my final assignment for that class was to write a spec script for the show. For those of you who don't know what a TV spec script is, it is basically an independent script or episode written by someone with the goal to either sell it or secure representation like an agent. It is written for the show in the sense that it shows people that the writer understands the show and that their work fits within the show and its conventions. It is not an official script or episode that will be shot for the series. Therefore, this video is not affiliated with the show in any way, nor does it contain spoilers to season 2 of Never Have I Ever. However, this video does contain spoilers from the first season. I'm just putting that out there for those of you who haven't seen the show yet and don't want spoilers to what happens in the first season. In this video, I really just want to share with you my experience writing an independent script for Never Have I Ever, and I also want to just share with you how I came up with my story idea. Before we get into this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, hit the bell icon to stay up to date of when and what I post, and give this video a thumbs up. And with that, let's just get into discussing the script I wrote for Never Have I Ever. The first thing I wanted to talk about are the parameters of my assignment. So my professor actually gave us a short list of TV shows we could spec. I chose Never Have I Ever because I felt like I could somewhat relate to Davy in the modern day high school experience the show depicts. Although I was never really one to care about popularity or obsess over high school boys like Davy, I was able to understand where Davy was coming from. I mean, at one point during my high school years, I didn't want to stand out much. I just wanted to fit in and blend in with all the other teenagers around me. Also, I could really understand the different personal challenges that the other characters were going through because those challenges are similar to the ones that high schoolers and young adults go through today. And that was the main reason why I chose to write a script for Never Have I Ever, because I thought it'd be really nice to write and create a story drawing inspiration from my own high school experience. One of the instructions for my assignment was that I had to write a 30-minute episode, which is a minimum of 30 pages. Essentially, one page of the script is equal to 1 minute of screen time of the TV show or film. Also, my story idea was not allowed to continue the plot after the season 1 finale. I was not allowed to write the first episode of the second season. That means I can only write within what happens in the first season of the show. I had to write an episode between 2 existing episodes in the season. Another thing was that I still had to follow what the show's writers wrote for the characters, meaning I could not change a characteristic of a character, an action they did, or an event that happened. Whatever I wrote in my episode could not change the events that happened in the following episodes. The last rule for this assignment that I can remember is that I was allowed to create new supporting characters. And that is pretty much all the parameters I had for my assignment. Now I just wanted to talk about how I came up with my idea. Before we get into it, I just want to make a note that in this video, I will not be sharing with you my story idea. Instead, I will be sharing with you how I came up with my story idea. The reason why I won't be sharing with you my story idea is because of creative rights. If I were to publicly share my story idea, it would no longer be my story idea. Once I release it on the internet, I would basically be giving anyone the ability to use and adapt my story idea however they want. Therefore, if I want to use this story idea in the future, I may no longer be able to do that because someone might have taken my idea and copyrighted it as their own. So to avoid that from happening, I'm sorry, but I cannot share with you my actual story idea. Okay, now let's actually get into how I came up with my story idea. I literally studied the show, no joke. I originally watched it once on Netflix when the show premiered in 2020. That was before I took this writing for television class. Then once I was in the class and this assignment was assigned, I watched the show another 2 full times. That's not all though. Once I figured out my story idea, I rewatched episodes many times that contained important information that I was building off of in my script. And quite often I would also rewatch scenes over and over again from various episodes. I kid you not, I could probably recite everything that happens in an episode if you asked me. That is how well I know the story of the show. The story is engraved into my brain. Okay, so at this point, because Never Have I Ever only has one season out, there were so many characters and stories to explore that haven't been explored yet in the first season. That factor alone made it easier to come up with a story idea, just because you didn't have to worry much about repeating stuff that already happened in the show. One character that I thought could use a little bit more development was Paxton Hall Yoshida. I noticed that Paxton is a series regular, but we haven't gotten much of a backstory for him yet. I also thought his character was quite interesting because he appears as this high school jock who's popular, athletic, and he's not academically inclined, but it also seems like he has a sensitive side that he hides. For example, in episode 2 of season 1, Paxton shows a bit of his sensitive side when he talks to Davy at the end of the episode because he actually admits to Davy that he's protective over Rebecca. Then in episode 9, towards the end as well, when Nalini insults Paxton's intelligence in front of him, you can clearly tell that Paxton is hurt by what she says. And then in episode 10, when Paxton talks to Rebecca, he basically admits and confirms how much Nalini's words hurt him. This character dynamic is so peculiar to me because it shows that Paxton isn't a stereotypical high school jock. And that is why I decided to focus and write my script about Paxton, to explore his personal life, his values, family life at home, and of course his relationship with Davy. I wanted to give Paxton my own backstory. Since I decided to center my script around Paxton, I wanted to do something similar to episode 6, where the story was told from Ben's perspective. Therefore, I thought it would only make sense to structure my episode to be told from Paxton's perspective as opposed to Davy's. And of course, that means I also changed my narrator. In my script, it is not John McEnroe. For the narrator, I ended up picking someone famous that played a significant part in the story I created for Paxton. As I mentioned earlier, one of the requirements for this episode in this script I wrote had to be placed in between two already existing episodes. From the way Paxton's character and actions are placed throughout the season, I wanted to situate my episode right after the scene where Paxton drives Davy home from Ben's party and kisses her in his car in episode 8. So I guess you can call my episode 8.5 because it sits right in between episode 8 and 9. I decided on this episode placement because I felt that Paxton kissing Davy was the peak of his character in this season. I mean, for someone like Paxton, who's popular and athletic, to kiss someone like Davy, who's pretty much a nerd who tries too hard to be popular, is just like, what? That's just so unusual. Therefore, I thought it'd be good for the next episode, hypothetically my episode, to dive deeper into Paxton's character. Now I wanted to move on to the process of me writing a spec script for Never Have I Ever. So the first thing I did was a proposal. From our proposal, my prof would give us notes and her thoughts on our story ideas. Okay, so I originally proposed 2 story ideas to my prof. The first one being all about Paxton and where his relationship stands with Davy after the kiss. The second story idea I had follows episode 9, after Davy wishes that her mother was the one who died instead of her father. In this episode idea, I plan to emphasize this captivating and complicated mother-daughter relationship before Davy decides to move in with Ben in episode 10. At this point in the show, Davy is also fighting with her best friends Fabiola and Eleanor. So in addition to detailing Davy and her mother's relationship, I also wanted to touch on her relationship with her best friends as well in this episode. Out of the 2 proposals I made, I chose to take the story about Paxton to the next level because I felt a little more attached to the story idea. The second step in this process I did is the beat sheet. A beat sheet is a document that identifies all the events in the story and episode. In my beat sheet, I jotted down all the important events that I wanted to happen in my script, but I separated my beat sheet into 3 sections. I had the A story, the B story, and the C story. The A story is of course the primary story. It is the story that takes up about half the episode and it spreads throughout each act. The B and C stories are secondary stories. Because I really want to explore Paxton's family dynamic in my episode, I made his relationship with his parents, characters that I introduced in my script, as the A story. The B story was Paxton's relationship with Davy, and the C story was Paxton's relationship with his sister Rebecca. The third step I did in this entire writing process was an outline. The outline is a scene-by-scene breakdown of the script. The scene breakdown really just indicates the contents of each scene. Before starting my outline, I made changes to my beat sheet after I got notes from my prof about my story. I ended up switching my A and B story. So the A story was Paxton and Davy's relationship after the kiss, and the B story was now Paxton's relationship with his parents. My outline ended up being 8 pages and it had about 30 30 scenes. I personally really enjoyed writing the outline because doing a scene by scene breakdown really allowed me to see how the episode was going to unfold. It was just so exciting to see my story, what started out as a tiny little idea, turn into a full 30-minute episode. I remember finishing my outline and I was just like, wow, this is so cool. Anyways, after the outline, the next and last thing I did was the first draft of the script. To start my first draft of the script, I used my outline as a basis and I incorporated revisions from the notes my prof gave me on my outline. In the first draft, I took out small scenes from my outline. I also changed some of the contents in my scenes and I also added more scenes. The finished first draft of my script ended up being a total of 30 pages and had 37 scenes. Yeah, so finishing the first draft is where I am right now. I do plan on writing a second draft for myself over the summer. This whole writing process was honestly so fun to experience. I enjoyed every single step of this process. I enjoyed creating, developing, and writing this story. Anyways, friends, that is it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye now.
Pull the key out the ignition. Run your mouth but I never listen. You hold me back, will never last. Keep talking all your shit. Wondering how all this started. You left me broken hearted. You flip my words, yeah, this love hurts. Keep talking all your shit.